Good evening. Good evening. How you doing? This is Coach Carvel Bailey, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Life and Basketball. And here on this show is where we talk about how both the game of basketball as well as the game of life have so much synergy and how they are connected. And so on this show, what we do is we speak to athletes, former athletes, officials, former officials, coaches, former coaches, as well as those individuals that have been influential in this game that we like to call basketball. And so on the show, we, talk about how a little orange ball has oftentimes saved as well as shaped individuals' lives. And so on the show today, and I was just, telling him before we came on, this is about a year in the making, right? We really planned to do this about a year ago. And then, I was just overwhelmed, just kind of burned out with doing the show every day for, so long. But I'm glad that we finally get a chance to do this. And so the individual that I want to present and introduce tonight is no stranger to basketball, no stranger at all to basketball. As a matter of fact, this individual has been known to connect with individuals unlike any other, especially in his peer group in this game of basketball, right? He's been able to form relationships, be able to help countless players really, really be able to see their value as well as be able to see the goals that they're looking to achieve. And so a great individual, right? This dude is a great individual, right? Real humble, personable, and he does a lot for the game of basketball. And I'm excited to bring to the show today somebody that I respect, but also somebody that I feel that I have a great relationship with. So I want to present to some and introduce to others Evanston's own Mr. Daniel Poneman. D, what up, man? How you feeling?
I'm excited to be here. Yeah, this has been a long time in the making. I'm really excited to be here. I remember I watched the episode where you had Rob, Ty, Lou, and Mike Oliver on. I think that was I watched it. I was glued to my screen for like 3 hours.
Yep.
I was like, that was such a cool episode. It was hundreds of people on there watching, and then definitely I remember wanting to get on. Actually, I remember. I'll share why I didn't come on the original scheduled date. Do you remember why?
Yep.
It was
all the riots and stuff, wasn't it?
It was great. Yep. George was killed.
Yep.
And at that point, it's not like let's just ignore that and I'm gonna come on and talk about basketball. It was like, all right, matter change. And obviously I wasn't the appropriate person to come and share my thoughts on that matter.
Yep.
We both had the same thought, like, we should probably wait till the different time to have this conversation. And now, and hopefully this is the right time. We can have a good conversation and some people can get some things out of it.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So before we get into it, man, just tell people a little bit about who is Daniel Poneman, the man.
Well, I am, for the context of this call and in general, I'm a product of the Chicago basketball system, Chicago basketball community. So, I'm a white kid from Evanston, and when I was 14 years old, I somehow found myself in the center of the Chicago basketball world because I started a website writing about high school basketball. So it was before Twitter, before Facebook, before YouTube, before any of this. I had a little blog and I had a notebook just like this one and a pen, and I would go to games and interview guys and take pictures and write my blog about it. And that was age 14. I'm 29 now. I've been 15 years.
Yep.
I've done is basketball. It started as a scout and a writer, and then it became, a journalist. I would interview guys and make highlight videos. Then I became an entrepreneur, turned it into a business. Then I started, became a philanthropist and started a nonprofit helping kids get to college through basketball, and now I'm an agent helping guys make money through basketball, and then reinvesting some of that money and some of that power back into the community that gave me my career and gave me my life. So ultimately, I'm a basketball entrepreneur, but I'm a product of the Chicago basketball community first and foremost.
Yeah, that's dope, man. That's, you said a lot in terms of just like, the full gamut. I mean, you've kind of touched on all parts of basketball, but 14 years old, Evanston, kid from Evanston, but like just drawn to the Chicago style of basketball. And for people that don't know, this show reaches all over the country and all over the world, but Evanston is like right next to Chicago. But growing up in Evanston, D, and Evanston is in the news now, right? Because they're gonna issue some reparations, right? So if people may have heard of Evanston, that's where you're from, and so Evanston is getting some good news, right? But growing up in Evanston, man, how did growing up in Evanston help shape you to be the individual that we see today?
Great question. So I always say, like, I'm a product of luck. Like, I wouldn't be in a position if I didn't get a lot of lucky breaks. So I grew up in Evanston for a bunch of reasons. Not only did, people who aren't from Chicago, whatever, think of Evanston as like a kind of a privileged suburb, which it is, but it's a unique suburb because Evanston is the blend of the city and the suburbs. It's the suburb on the border. So the south end of Evanston, you got Howard Street. That's Rogers Park. That's Chicago. North end of Evanston, you've got Wilmette. That's the wealthiest suburb in the Midwest, right? So you've got one suburb, one town that's the blend of the wealthiest suburb of Chicago and the city. So in one high school for 4,000 kids, you have every element of society, pretty much every race, every economic background. You got everything in Evanston. So for me, on one hand, I'm blessed with the privileges where I grew up in a nice house, 2-parent household. I didn't want for anything. So I had, resources, education, mentoring, I had everything. But then also I had access to, I wasn't in a bubble, right? I had, the red line was walking distance from my house, right? So I got access to the whole city, through that and through basketball. Growing up playing Evanston small fry, I was when I was 12 years old, we're going to Robert Taylor for a small fry tournament, and I'm getting to see and learn about the whole city through basketball. I played AAU tournaments in every part of the city. So again, I'm so lucky that I grew up in Evanston, not only because I did have a privileged, comfortable upbringing, but I also didn't grow up in a bubble. And I think that, that combination of circumstances led to me being able to work in the job I'm in today and live the life that I live.
I love it, man. Growing up in the bubble, man. So let's unpack this, right? And so first of all, we gonna get into all the good things, but I always like to take my time on the foundation, right? Because I want people to really understand when we really get into exactly everything that you do and have done, the foundation. But now when you talk about growing up in the bubble or not growing up in the bubble, break that down. What does that really mean?
Again, if I had grown up, so here's a crazy story.
Yeah.
So when my family moved from Iowa, I was born in Iowa.
Okay.
My family moved to the suburbs because my mom's family's from here, right?
Okay.
So they had a house in Wilmette, and they were going to buy a house in Wilmette. And actually, it's crazy. This is '92. The realtor, when they were going to make an offer, said that the neighborhood didn't want any Jews in the neighborhood. They didn't want Jews to live there. So we couldn't buy that house. So we ended up moving to Evanston. Now, if I had grew up in Wilmette, my existence, I'd be a totally different person, right? So Wilmette is a homogeneous community. It's completely white, top to bottom. There's no diversity. It is a homogeneous, wealthy community. So you grow up in that community, become that, a certain type of person. Now, I grew up in Evanston, where you have, again, that aspect where it is like that. And then you have that aspect where you have Section 8 housing, you have white people, black people, Mexican people, Asian people, all in one school. So, from growing up in that environment, you're forced to learn about different people's culture. You sleep over at other friends' houses that aren't like you.
Yeah.
And from that, again, that was the greatest blessing of my life, was getting to grow up with people who weren't like me. And then you can operate in the world, not without judgment, because everyone has judgment, right?
Absolutely.
Everyone has biases in different dispositions, but that was the greatest blessing of my life, because again, I wouldn't have been able to operate in the basketball world, in the Chicago basketball community, if I hadn't been raised around different types of people and learned to accept. Again, my friend group growing up was, especially because we played basketball, was every type of person for every type of background. So again, like I just grown up 10 minutes north, I wouldn't be sitting here out in the interview today.
It'd be different.
I'm grateful to Evanston for exposing me to that.
Wow, man, that makes a lot of sense, and like I never thought about the bordering neighborhoods, to Evanston, but that's absolutely correct, man.
If you grow up on the north border of Evanston, your house is definitely over $1 million. But if you grow up on the south border, you're on Howard Street, where there's no such thing as $1 million house. So
absolutely,
you get every aspect of society, and that's to the benefit of everybody.
Yeah, man. I actually used to work at a group home in Evanston, some years ago. Now, when you say, like, talk about, and I know that this is what you provide with your companies, and we're gonna get into it, but you said, like, you had access to resources, you had access to education, access to the red line. Access, man, like, it's not always about what you know, as opposed to the exposure from who you know that can get you that access. So, like, talk about the importance you think for athletes to be able to have access to different resources.
Totally. I mean, look, people always tell me, like, oh, you were so resourceful, or you were so entrepreneurial, or you had a plan and you made it on your own. No, I recognize that every single step of my journey, I was privileged. I had someone there to help me because I was born into a privileged upbringing. So again, like, I started my career when I was 14. Well, my dad I remember when I was 14, my dad drove me from Evanston to Chicago State to watch Derrick Rose play. That's an hour-long drive, especially for a game in rush hour, right?
In traffic.
From Howard to 95th. So I was privileged in that aspect. I got to play AAU growing up, which helped me as a player and helped expose me. So by the time I started my website when I was 14, I knew, oh, that's the top guy there. That's the top, because I played for full package, and it was probably $3,000 a year to play. My parents are paying for me to play for full package. So I got to, I got those resources, which then gave me access to, everything I needed to be successful. So I took advantage of that, and I was resourceful. But I also think sometimes with access and privilege comes complacency. I think a lot of the players you see, playing in the Red West, if they grew up in Evanston, might not have had that hunger, right, to succeed, and that drive to play, because sometimes when you're when you're in a privileged environment, everything's handed to you. You don't make the most out of. What's up, Andre? I see Andre.
Yeah.
I saw him earlier.
Yeah, Pam. Yeah, that's my guy, Dre. Dre is Division I coach. Yeah, man, that's my guy.
Yeah, but anyway, so I think it's different. Again, I was lucky that I was privileged but not complacent, because I think it's easy when things get handed to you to get complacent and not have that. And the things that drive me may be different than people who grew up in with different motivations, right? My motivation necessarily isn't financial, right? I was born into not wealth, but a comfortable family where I didn't grow up saying, like, I need to eat. But for me, my motivation is more about helping people, about doing the things that I love, spreading love, spreading positivity, and using the platform that I have to do great things. But yeah, I think privilege and access is important, and not everybody has it, but I recognize that I have it, so I don't take it for granted.
Yeah, and it's with that access and those resources also kind of comes a level of responsibility too. As you said, to always use the like push-pull analogy. Like, people have pushed me to a certain point, and it's my job to now pull others up from where they are, if that makes sense. So I understand that it's a certain level of responsibility, but let's, I don't want to date this, but let's date it. National championship just ended yesterday, a whole lot of conversation between the two. Both were great teams, but let's make it real practical. You have, like, these 5-star athletes, and then you have everybody else really. But a lot of times the worst thing that an athlete can hear is that they're good, right?
Totally.
And that's part of the mental side. Can you hear that, but keep going, right? So I've never told a player that plays for me that they were good until after they were done playing for me. I would tell them, yeah, that was a good move, but I've never said, oh, you good. But talk about the complacency, man, as it relates to the transfer portal. Like, let's really, really talk about it. You know, for those people that don't know, right, transfer portal is where kids can go talk to their, you know, administrators. I don't really want to be here. I want to kind of, you know, shop my options and get into this portal. They got a certain amount of time before now they can get into the portal. You know, they can possibly come back if the coach wants them to come back. But how much of the transfer portal thing, D, do you think comes along with the complacency and them not really working as hard and never really had to earn it?
Well, yeah, I think there's different reasons for that. But yeah, I think like on one hand, okay, so in my agency, I don't know if we have a single client that was a 5-star.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like that was a strategy.
Yep.
I ended up with a bunch of guys, but I think it's because they see themselves in me, maybe in our team, all kind of grinders and scrappy. And I've enjoyed, there are some 5-star kids who are great, but I think a lot of times coming from, guys who make it to the league, not as 5-stars, taking the long road, a guy like Jay Sean Tate, who had to go to Belgium and Australia before making the NBA. Or today, like I was talking to Zach Hankins, one of my clients, who he was a no-star, went to a D2 on a $3,000 scholarship, redshirted his freshman year, played 3 years, became the Division II national champion and player of the year, transferred up to Xavier, and now he's a pro. And I think that got funny. Like he got injured after his rookie year, and he had some money saved, but to keep busy during the summer, he was delivery driving for a company. Like, he didn't need the money, but Tim is like, well, hey, I'm not working. I'm injured. I got to work. I got to make money. But you have that 2-star mentality. You're like, hey, I'm not special. I don't have a job. Let me drive delivery, And I think that mindset in general helps, that growth mindset.
Yeah.
And I think you look at growth mindset versus fixed mindset. I don't know if you've addressed this with your audience before, but like,
break it down, D. Break it down. I'm glad you brought it up. Go ahead.
So, the one thing that I almost always will write off a player for is if they tell me, I ask them, hey, you didn't get playing time or things didn't go well. I say, well, what went wrong? I say, well, my coach. If you start with my coach, that means you're blaming someone else for your problems. Yep. Your coach can be the worst guy in the world. Your coach can be a jerk. He can not like you. He can hate himself. But at the end of the day, if you let that get in the way of your success, that's on you. That's an you could hate your coach, but at the end of the day, you have to figure out how to work with him to make the most. So if I hear, oh, my coach didn't like me, that's why I didn't play. Oh, my coach was a jerk. Or oh, my coach liked somebody else. All right, well, you got to make him like you, because you're letting someone else get in the way of your success. Yep. So that's my biggest pet peeve is, oh, my coach did this, or oh, well, my team, my point guard didn't pass, or the offense didn't fit me. Like, all right, you got to figure that out. So a fixed mindset is that. A growth mindset is it's always on you to grow, to get better, to figure it out and adapt to your circumstances to improve. So I always look for growth mindset guys, because they're always going to figure it out. So you talk about the transfer portal. I think that some of that is people blaming their circumstances, but I also think there's almost like a mental health epidemic going on within young people, not just athletes, where I think it's like the grass is always greener, and it's like you're not happy in the place that you're in. And I think that could be a product of social media. It could be a product of the pandemic. It could be a product of so many different societal factors. But I think a lot of guys who are in situations that they're actually playing well for good teams and good situations, but they're looking for happiness elsewhere. And sometimes you could blame that on, fixed mindset, complacency, being divas. But some of it is just kids looking for happiness and saying, hey, maybe I'm averaging 10, 12 points a game here, but like I want to find happiness elsewhere. And they go somewhere else, and maybe they'll find it, maybe they won't. But I think that's the bigger thing, is that we don't address mental health with these young people. We expect them to just perform and figure it out. But it's a lot more complex than that, I think.
Absolutely. No, and that's a great answer, because, transfer or not, but they're going to always be looking for happiness until they find it from within first, and, a lot of athletes, feel that way. And that's an amazing point, man, that, well, if I talk to parents all the time, and I need my kid to score more, or I need them to start. I need them to play more. Newsflash for all my parents out here. Newsflash. I'm gonna say it again publicly. Starting is really not important.
Mm-hmm.
Don't get yourself in a bunch because you want your athlete to start. That doesn't matter. Starting does not matter. What matters is who finishes the game. As a coach, D, I'm putting the ones on the court at the end of the game that I know I can depend on. I'm putting the guys on the court at the end of the game that got the growth mindset. Right? I'm putting the guys in at the end of the game that aren't going to make excuses and that aren't complacent, winning or losing. So, like parents, it does not matter. And these are things that we teach, the parents and athletes, but it does not matter if you start or not. Is your kid good enough to where they can finish the game? And even if they may not finish every game, but going back to your point, D, are they able to add value to the team when they are in the game?
Mm-hmm.
Or just personally, again, we talk about, talk like Baylor. Baylor wins games because of their bench too, D, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so talk about being a good teammate too, right? Mm-hmm. Because that goes into, again, if you're getting guys and you just thought about it now, but just straight growth mindset, you're getting those people that can figure it out, that can be like entrepreneurs on, on the court, because we just got to figure some things out. How does that go into play with you being able to market them?
Well, again, back to another point I made earlier, is the biggest thing people say is, oh, well, coach didn't like me, and that's why I didn't play. All right, well, if I never take that seriously. To a parent, if you want me to sign your kid, or a kid, if you want me to sign you, if you say, oh, well, coach didn't like me, I'm never going to believe you, because that coach wants to win. That coach wants to keep their job. That coach wants to get paid, wants to win games. So if you're one of the best players and you're not playing, it's not because coach didn't like you. It's because you did something to deserve that the coach thinks that you're not going to help them win.
Yeah.
So it's never coach didn't like me. It's no, coach did not feel that you could help them win games. Now, if you're talented and coach feels you can't.
Wait a minute. Say that again, D. Coach didn't what? Say it again for me.
You were the best player to have on the court to help them win games. And that's what it is, because coaches want to win. They're not going to say, I hate this kid so much, I'm going to lose games and lose my job because I don't like that kid.
Yep.
No, never met a coach that do that. Coaches aren't going to lose games out of spite because they don't like your kid. That is just absolutely ridiculous.
Yep.
But people, and like I said, the key word there is me. Oh, coach doesn't like me. Well, that shows you right now you're thinking about me instead of us. Players that play are thinking about us. They're thinking about we. They're thinking about, how do we win? The players think about me. How do I get the most out of it?
Yeah.
Or you're already taken away from the team because you're thinking about me. And again, that's talk about the transfer portal. Those are kids again, not all of them, because some of them should be in the portal. Some of them need new fresh starts. A lot of them are thinking about me. Oh, the team won and I played this role and this and that, but I didn't get enough opportunity. I didn't, So again, if coach feels that if you're talented and you're not playing, you're probably thinking about me instead of we. And you look at Baylor last night, they all think about we, and now they're all benefiting from it. Matt Mayer came off the bench and he might be a first round pick.
Absolutely.
Right. So Jared Butler could have probably scored 30 a game, but he had to get everybody involved. Right. You look at these guys that all sacrificed me for we, the team won and they all won. And I think so many people ruin their careers by thinking about me.
Absolutely. And, I did a webinar last night for some parents, and I was just explaining like some of the things that coaches are looking for even still now. And that was the biggest thing, right? Just like good coaches are looking for good people, right? They want good teammates. They want people with, integrity, people with character, people that can, and a good teammate is not getting mad when somebody is subbing in for you, right? Or not silently sitting on the bench hoping that your teammate mess up so you can get in, not helping your teammate up off the floor. A lot of the little things go into play. But let's go back for a minute, D. Let's go back to 14, because we at 29 now. Let's go back to 14. what made you go to your first game with that notebook?
Well, again, it's funny. Like a lot of people say, "Oh wow," they'll like praise me. "Oh wow, you had so much vision at a young age. You had this foresight to turn this thing into a career." None of that's really true.
Yep.
I followed my instincts, and it worked out for me. So when I was 14 years old, what's up, Jug? When I was 14 years old, I was in the computer lab at Evanston High School, and Eric Dortch showed me ChicagoHoops.com, showed me the message board. There's some of the rankings, and it had Chris Colvin #1 in the state for our grade, and I grew up with Chris in Evanston.
Yeah,
Eric Dortch 18 in the state. I'm like, wow, like I know these kids, and they're ranked on the internet. This is crazy. Like growing up writing about my friends, whatever. Of course, I wasn't ranked. I was all right, but I wasn't that good. And I got on Chicago Hoops message board and just started writing about players I'd seen, this and that, because it was almost like the same way that you argue in the gym. Like we would go to the Evanston YMCA and argue about who was good, this, that, and the other. But as I doing that on the internet, so I would just pass time in school doing that. But I still never thought it would be a career or a job or whatever. And then I started making my own rankings on Chicago Hoops message board because I'd seen a lot of these kids in my grade from playing AAU and playing small fry.
Yeah.
Okay. And then really when I broke through was that fall of my sophomore year. The full package had an exposure league at the Evanston YMCA. So again, lucky break, convenience. So this is fall of 2006. Okay. Fall of 2006. So start of Derek's senior year.
Yep.
Turner's senior year. So I was playing in the full package because I just got done playing AAU for full package. I signed up for the full package exposure league for the freshman sophomore league. But then the junior senior league, they partnered with Larry Butler.
Yeah.
Got all the Warriors in there. So Brandon McGee, who went to Indiana, was in there. Aaron Johnson went to UAB. Jacob Pullen going to Kansas State. Iman Shumpert was a junior at the time. Dan Simpson went to Illinois and Memphis later. So you had all these good players. I literally grew up 3 blocks from the Evanston YMCA. So again, lucky, convenience, access. I would play in my games in the freshman sophomore league. I go shower in the locker room. I come out with my notebook and I'd interview guys for at the Chicago Hoops message board or whatever. And then at the time I started my own website. I was like, you know what? Actually, Brian Stinnett kicked me off the Chicago Hoops message board because it was like people would post on the message board like question for Dan, right? It was Brian's website. So he banned me from the message board.
I never knew that.
He thought I was making my own website. He not only did he ban me from the message board, but he made it where if you wrote the name Poneman, there was like a automatic where that word would turn into a different word. So you couldn't even write my name on the message board.
Wow.
I did my own website and it became war. It was like, all right, Illinois HS basketball versus Chicago Hoops. So I still have the notebook where I have interviews with Jacob Pullen, Aaron Johnson, Brandon McGee, Iman Shumpert, all these guys in this little, those black and white 100-page notebooks. Yeah. And from there, it just became an obsession because I got so lucky that I grew up in the internet age where you get this like instant feedback, right? I'd write up an interview with Jacob Pullen, post it. Next thing you know, it's getting shared. And people give me feedback. I'm getting thousands of views. And there was a void where you had Chicago Hoops, which was like short form content, like little news. It wasn't long form interviews with top high school players where you're asking about their personal life and their upbringing. So I look back at some of those old interviews, poor English. I was 14 years old, 15 years old. I didn't know how to compose an interview. Like my grammar's off, but people didn't care because the information was good.
You was getting a story. Yep.
Yeah. And then that was it. From there, it was history. I didn't even try out for the sophomore team. I played freshman year, didn't even try out for the sophomore team at Evanston. I was like, no, Dad, I want to go. I'm going to take the train. If you can't drive me, I had the red line right there. I'm going to go around the city. And then God bless my parents for like trusting me. Like, oh yeah, you want to take a train to the west side after school? Like, go for it, Yeah. And that was it. I spent that whole sophomore year just interviewing guys. Facebook came out that year, so I was able to friend request people and start getting interviews. And I was beating the Tribune and the Sun-Times to scoops because I had that access through the internet. So I got lucky that I was kind of born at the right time to leverage the access that the internet gave me to get stories, and it led to a career.
Man, that's a great story. Yeah, because around the time with Chicago Hoops and the old school what was it? High school elite, right? It was high school elite.
So high school elite was before that. Frank Rusnak retired.
Yep.
Played poker, and then Brian Stinnett came
in. Yep.
then me. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. No, that's amazing, man. Now, so the title of the show, this episode is Follow Your Dreams, right? And I always pan the title based on the individual that I'm speaking with. And your mom wanted you to go to college.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So,
I mean, because ultimately she trusted you enough to follow your dreams, and I've met your mom, a few times, great woman, she don't mind having a conversation, don't mind having a conversation. And if you're hers or not, she don't mind correcting people, right? In a good way. But I mean, she wanted you to go to, to go to school, but you followed your dreams and you're here now. So like how scary was that? And, just speak to what you think happened to where your mom trusted you to be able to do that, to follow your dreams.
Yeah. So again, I got lucky that my parents were like, they were like hands on, hands off. Like my dad coached all my teams growing up.
Yep.
My mom cooked dinner for me, really supportive parents, but also they let me make my own decisions. They trusted me to make my own decisions. So growing up, I was freshman in high school, getting in trouble, skipping school. I did things I shouldn't have, but instead of grounding me and scolding me, they kind of let me see the consequences of my own decision making and seeing how it played out and explaining to, rather than saying, "Don't ever do that." All right, touch the stove, see how it feels,
Yeah.
And they let me do that. And I ended up, working out for me in a lot of ways. And sometimes I took my lumps, but so I was 17, 16, and Tavares Hardy was the assistant coach at Northwestern, and he really wanted me to go to Northwestern because I'd help them recruit some guys, and there was my local school, and I had good test scores and all that stuff. Like I could have got into school there, especially with the help from the staff. And I remember I just told this story the other day on my Instagram, but I was filling out the application to go to Northwestern, and it's kind of like, all right, why do you want to go to school here? Write an essay, this and that. And I'm like, I don't want to do this. I'm trying to go to this basketball game and write it. Like I'm trying to write a story on my website. I don't want to go to Northwestern. Like, why, if I can't even write this application, how am I going to do this for 4 years? Basically live a lie and like learn these things that I got a passion. I need to follow this. I was already sleeping through class, staying up all night, blogging about basketball.
Yeah.
So I walked in my parents' room. I said, "Hey guys, I decided I'm not going to go to school. I'm not going to finish the application." And obviously they weren't psyched about it. Northwestern, I mean, that's your dream for your kid. You get into the best school.
Yeah.
But I think they knew at the time, my guess is they knew if they forced me to go, I was going to go and fail. I wasn't going to do well.
Yeah.
They let me make my own decision and it didn't go well. I could always reapply the next year and go back.
Yeah.
So they said, it's cool. They supported me. I didn't go to, whatever. I didn't go to school and moved out of the house at 17. I was placed in Lincoln Park. I was making a little money from the website. I was doing kind of well, and I fell on my face. I fell flat on my face. Because I didn't realize there's a big, and that's why a lot of people ask me. I have kids reach out to me all the time and ask, "Oh, I don't want to go to college like you. I want to follow in your footsteps."
Yeah.
They see where I was and they see where I am now, and they think, "Oh,
yeah."
It was extremely difficult because I didn't realize. A lot of kids think, "Oh, if I don't have school, I'll be more productive because I'll have all the time to do whether it's making music or a lot of kids. I want to be a rapper. I don't want to go to school. I want to be a scout." But a lot of times having that structure of a school environment really helps you to be productive. You got to wake up at a certain place. You have to take classes that make your mind work and have teachers and mentors and other young people that you can bounce ideas off of, have communication. Some of the best debates of my life were in high school English class, debating over things we learned. So when I got out of school and I was all on my own, everyone else is in college and I'm alone in an empty apartment blogging about basketball. It wasn't the glamorous life that I hoped for. And I started not being as productive as I had been before because I didn't have that structure. It was just kind of, it's not the school structure of Monday through Friday and then you get the weekend off. It's just the void of being an adult. I'm 17. I have the rest of my life. When I was 18, I moved back to my parents' house. I was, down and out trying to figure out what was next. But, I think, and I could have gone to school at the time, but I was really committed to my journey and I was still doing fairly well. And I think that period where things got difficult for me was the most important period of my life because I learned how to fail. And I think learning how to fail is important. And I think that's when you talk about kids in the transfer portal. Kids who learn how to fail and don't have everything go their way are much more prepared when they get to the real world. I think that's the most important lesson you can have. And I learned how to fail over and over and over for those few years.
Mm-hmm.
And then again, I was at a point when I was about 20 years old, about 2 years later, where my website wasn't popping anymore. I was barely going to games. I almost lost my passion. I got burnt out. I wasn't in school. I was like, what do I do next? But again, I got lucky. That's when I started filming Shot in the Dark. I wanted to do something different. So I had two friends who were filmmakers in New York. They reached out to me about doing a film about Chicago basketball. I agreed to work with them. I picked out Orr and Taekwondo Greer and Coach Lou Adams, and I found a new purpose. It was go to this school every day, and I'm going to make this documentary. And again, this is a lesson about delayed gratification. Mm-hmm. So I went from my website where I would make a video or do an interview and post it, and an hour later, I'm getting everyone telling me how great it is and sharing it, and I'm getting hits, and it's cool. But now I'm like, okay, I'm going to work on a documentary that's not going to be out for years. And people thought I was crazy. People were like, why are you going to Orr every day and you're not posting anything on YouTube? Like, what are you doing? Like, when is it going on YouTube? Why don't you go to other stuff? I'm making a movie. I'm making, like, what, for YouTube? I'm making a movie. And those first 3 years, like, I think even my parents thought I was going crazy. Because I'd be like, oh, I'm going to make the movie. They're like, movie? Like, what are you talking about? Like, I'm literally having asked them for $20 so I can put it on the tank so I can get to Orr and come back. Like, I wasn't filling up my tank. I was putting $20 on the tank so I could get to the West Side and back to film this movie.
And at that time, gas was damn near $5 a gallon.
Yeah, it's true. Exactly $20 to get me to
And let's go back for a minute, man, because you gave us a lot in a little bit. Trust the process, right? Like, so, and I always talk about this, man. Joel Embiid made that sound sexy, right? Mm-hmm. But when you're in the process, a lot of times it's hard to trust the process, right? Mm-hmm. When athletes are like in situations, right, in which now they have to use that growth mindset. Now when they're in situations and when they have to use like their natural behaviors and strengths, like to be able to deal with adversity. And as you said, right, things got difficult, but you learn how to fail. You know, a lot of our athletes, and, you know, to your point, they don't necessarily learn how to fail because they don't trust the process, right? They would rather quit than to go through the process, then trust it while they're in it. Coach don't like me, or coach ain't playing me, right? Whatever, you know, more freshmen deal with it when they go to college, right? Because they used to be in, you know, the man or the woman. Now they got to learn how to play defense at this level. They got to learn plays. They got to learn structure. And then they may think it's them, but it's really a process. But if they don't learn from their failures, which is what you did, right? Mm-hmm. You never really evolve. And that's the word that came to me as you were talking, D. Evolution and evolve. So, you know, again, I knew of you. But then as the dean of Orr and the head coach of Malcolm X at that time, once you kind of reappeared, like, and reintroduced yourself, and with the movie cameras and everything, it was like, okay, kind of like, where's he been? But now my first thought was like, what is he doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, what is he doing? You know, but you had kind of run of the meal in a respectful way, right? Principal Sims and, you know, Coach Adams, you know, TJ, you know, they, you know, you would, you know, you all can come up to the school and, you know, or at that point, we damn near all black, but you would definitely, you know, like, people knew who you all were, knew what you all were doing, and welcomed you all. And even if it was fights on Chicago and Pulaski, y'all getting out the car, y'all didn't necessarily have to worry about it, because all in all, they respected that you all were doing something for them, right? All those kids at that time can still go back and look at that movie and know that they were part of one of those 4 classes during that time that you all were in there, and what it took. It was about 2 school years, wasn't it, D?
2 full years, yeah.
Yep.
A little bit from that first year too. Like we really started filming Taekwondo sophomore year, but it was really the junior.
Yep.
Yeah, it was really the junior and senior year. Yeah, 2 full years.
So let's talk about that, right? So you chose Orr, and with T. Greer, which is one of your main guys, right? Kizo and Lil Lou and all those guys, Jamal. But why Orr, and why then?
It's crazy. Like a lot of it, again, you go back to my story, a lot of it is just like divine intervention. It's just God's grace, whatever you want to call it. It's like luck of timing and I remember they reached out to me originally, the 2 filmmakers, to say, hey, we want to do something about Chicago basketball. And at the time, Chief Keef was on the charts.
Yep.
The murder rate was high, and it was
Yep.
national. The headlines were being sensationalized.
Yep.
And these guys reached out and said, hey, they were also from Evanston. Hey, we want to tell a story, a true story. We don't want to pop in and be like, hey, we're here in Chicago. Here's what's going on. I was like, no, let's live with the characters. Let's spend time to get to know people.
Yeah.
And initially they asked about Jabari Parker.
Yeah.
And it's like I had lunch with Jabari the other day, and I told him, like, bro, movie was supposed to be about you. But my feeling at the time was Jabari didn't represent the true Chicago experience, because his dad played in the league. He's a super smart player. Yeah. He's, 2-parent household, right? So like, okay, that wasn't the story that like it was pretty cozy for him.
Yeah.
But I knew, all right, we have to pick. So it's funny. I knew Taekwondo because he recruited me basically. Taekwondo used to see me in the gym, and he would run up to me, be like, hey, I know who you are. You got to come see me play. You got to come see me play. I'm really good. Yeah. And I didn't even know his name the first like 3 times, right? And then I remember I saw him at an AU tournament. He was pretty good. He was under the radar. And I'd known Lou for a while. Lou was my guy. I always loved Lou. Really authentic, really welcoming, very, very trusting of me, gave me full access. So I remember sending an email to the filmmakers with 5 names. Taekwondo was first. And remember, I still have the email. Taekwondo was first on the list. And then it was like a kid from Hyde Park was number 2. Marcus, I believe his name was. A kid from South Shore was number 3. So there was like 5 kids that were from different parts of the city that I felt could represent the true Chicago. Yeah. And that Taekwondo was first on the list. They picked Taekwondo, and it was just, again, the perfect character, because Taekwondo was charismatic, and amidst adversity, he was positive, and he was authentic. And he knew how to express himself, and he knew how to be himself and still have optimism amidst all the chaos that he was going through. Yeah. And couldn't have been a more perfect person to tell this story through. And again, it was just lucky. They could have picked any of those 5 names on the list, and they picked Taekwondo. Yeah, no, man. And that's amazingly dope, because sophomore year, had a good year. So going into junior year, when I first got there, they were expected to, just be, just like superstars, and they were. And, but all in all, Taekwondo Greer always wanted to really learn, right? People thought maybe he didn't want to work, but he always wanted to learn. And I know, and you're a testament to it, because you used to be in the gym at times. I would be in the gym with Taekwondo, and we would be in the gym working out. You all would be kind of over on the side, getting ready, doing whatever. But even though he knew you all were there, he was still kind of focused on what he needed to do to kind of get himself out of there, if that makes sense. Yeah, and I think that was also a product of the way that we told the story. Again, if you come in for a week and film, people are going to act different. They're going to adjust to that. But for us, we were there every single day, to the point that it became used to us. Like, we were in that school every day. Every day. Like, we became an institution where guys got used to having us there. And you can be yourself because you're so comfortable with us. And again, Taekwondo, he was a perfect person for it because, again, if you pick someone who's off the radar, who's not a Division I prospect, that's one thing. And if you pick someone who's already made it, like Jabari, that's another. But Taekwondo was there, whereas he had all the talent to be just as great. And that was why he was perfect. You had all the talent to be an NBA player, to be a Division I player, but he wasn't there yet. He was unknown. He was unranked. Started filming with him. We got to watch his journey of striving to try to get there, and what obstacles he faced to get there. It's like, all right, here's where you want to be, Division I player, NBA. Here's where you are right now, talented kid. All right, let's try and get there. Okay, your mom got sick, had a stroke. Okay, your family moved away. Okay, you got a house fire. Okay, you're living in a neighborhood where the gang is on your block and you need them for protection and support, but you also too much because you can't get sucked up in it, and you don't have money, but you can't do the wrong things to get the money, and like all these obstacles along the way to get to this thing that's right here, but it has so many pitfalls, so many roadblocks, and just walking to try to get there.
And that's kind of the unwritten story, right? That people don't necessarily understand from these athletes. And so, again, when I'm talking to parents and when I'm talking to athletes, and I want them to listen here, to your point, you got to know the person, not just the player, right? So, in the earlier blogs, younger, you're kind of interviewing the player, speaking to the person, if that makes sense. But now this 2-year duration, you were able to really know the person as well as the player. And so what I tell parents, and part of the reason why I think transfer portal is so high, because kids have went to schools where the coaches only view them as players, not necessarily people, if that makes sense, right? So what was the biggest lesson that you got from the reporting at your younger age? Let's say the reporting pre-falling on your face, right? Using those words, to now post getting back up, right? Like, what was the greatest lesson that you learned between younger and then now spending this time to do the movie about athletes?
I've learned compassion for people who don't make it, because again, you look at and all of those kids had the talent. How many really made it? I mean, Taekwondo graduated from college. Keyshawn graduated from college. Those are the only 2 kids. Every kid on that team got a scholarship. You look at the obstacles that those kids went through. Marquise is in jail, or has been in jail for the things he did. Isaiah is the starting point guard, got wrongfully accused of a double homicide, spent a year in Cook County, got acquitted, that they got thrown out, he didn't do it, and now he's trying to go back to school where he had a scholarship to a Division II school that he lost, and now he's trying to get back on, and I'm trying to help him. It's so difficult because he has that stigma for something he didn't do. And Nunu went to school, came back after a semester. You look at all these kids, and it's like, when survival is your primary goal, it's so hard to develop these other skills and things that you need to become a Division I athlete and to make it as a basketball player. Like, the obstacles that these kids were all faced were so difficult. And now I'm in the other side where sometimes people are like, oh, why didn't that kid make it? Oh, he didn't work hard enough. Oh, he's a knucklehead, he got in trouble. And it's like, it's like if you're running down the road and there's pitfalls all along the road, and you miss 19 and you hit the 20th, like, it happens. And I think I run my showcase, which I'm sure we'll talk about, but helps kids get to college, and it helps a lot of kids get to JUCOs and Division IIs and Division IIIs. A lot of those kids just aren't equipped to succeed by taking them out of their environment, put them in a completely new environment. It's like, all right, cool, succeed. But it's like, they don't have the support system. They don't have the resources. They don't have the preparation. And people just think they could drop them in that environment and they're just going to succeed. So I really hope with our foundation, we can continue to help grow it, so we can not only help kids get into school, but then help them succeed when they get there. But I think that's the biggest thing I learned, is that, like, before you judge, have compassion. Before you say, oh, it's your fault you didn't make it. Well, why? What went wrong along the way that made it your fault?
Yeah, man, this is This is getting interesting, man. Compassion for people that don't make it. Like that's like that speaks volume on so many levels, D, right? Like just, empathy, really, right? Like empathy, because we see those individuals that don't make it. And we try to do what you were saying that you don't like what, or none of us as coaches like the athletes to do, to blame, or it's their fault. It's their fault. It may not necessarily be their fault, right? The one thing that I learned as the dean, right, doing them, 5 years I was there, the 2 that you all were there, were people were getting in trouble for things that they had never really learned before, if that makes sense, right? And so how can we penalize a kid? And I would have, some of those, the basketball players gravitated to me, one, because I was a college coach, but they understood me and they knew that I understood them. But like, it's always teachable moments. And even what we do, and why I like to showcase, we're going to talk about it in a minute, but even like what we do with our company is, when I talk about being the right recruit, it's not just about being able to play, but it's are you right for our program? Are you right for the university? Is the program right for you? I turned down more kids than I ever recruited to play for me because it wasn't the right fit. Mm-hmm. And I told the parent, I'm going to give you look, call this coach. Like, I can probably go through my phone and call numerous coaches and they can say, oh, you sent the player to me, because if I feel like I can't offer you what you need, it's not a good fit. Mm-hmm. And now I'm being really bogus if now I say, hey, I just want you so can't nobody else have you. Mm-hmm. But so when, to your point, when you're talking about if survival based on their mindset, right, their mental status, that all depends on how they succeed on and off the court, right? Mm-hmm. And when we talk about those 3 people, Isaiah won a national championship at Triton, mm-hmm. right? Taekwondo Greer won a national championship, right? Mm-hmm. Lou Adams won a postseason championship. Mm-hmm. His final year, I think, at like Colorado.
Wyoming.
Yep. So all those guys were successful, right? But as you said, it was 15 people on that team, like 9 seniors, and they all got scholarships. But what's the difference with one kid that may be a 5-star or not, and another kid? What it really depends on is they have to be the right person as well as the right athlete for the environment in which they're going in. And I'm pretty sure that you tell players all the time, and like, study the college, like recruit the college that's recruiting you, because you may go to some of these schools, D, right? And it may be in a rural town. Now you get that city guy going into that rural town and it's just not a good fit. Mm-hmm. And that ain't a waste of the year, or it's heavily in the city. And now you may have a rural kid coming to the city, so it just has to be a good fit. So having compassion for people that don't make it, I think that's such a huge comment, because as you said, people don't really look at why, they look at what, like, oh man, this dude scored 30 points. Or this young lady, was starting, was all that in high school, but why, right? Why didn't they make it? And so, to your point, just having that empathy, man. And I think that kind of brings us to the showcase, right? Because now, again, you're evolving from your little black notebook to now doing the movie. Now we got the showcase. Why the showcase, right? The very first year, why did you say, let me do this showcase?
Yeah, so I'll take it back. I actually really started my senior year of high school.
Yep.
Hey, Pamela. I see Pamela commenting on here.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I started my freshman year of high school, or my senior year of high school. It was really initially an idea to make money. I was like, all right, all the top seniors, and they all need scholarships. and I know all the college coaches. I did at Joy of the Game up in Deerfield, which is now no longer there.
Yeah.
All right, all the top seniors in the gym, all these college coaches. I'll charge $70 a pop for the players and $50 for the college coaches, and I'll run this showcase, make some cash. I'm 18 years old.
Yeah.
And I remember losing money on that first one because I realized that all the players that I wanted to recruit to play, all the top seniors, didn't have $70. There's like, all right, well, second, how am I going to get to Deerfield? It's like the train doesn't go there, like whatever. So I'm starting to realize that, okay, there's a flaw in this, but the event ended up going well, but I ended up like losing $1,000 because I ended up like paying for the gym, paying for the refs, paying for the jerseys, letting a bunch of kids play for free. But a bunch of kids showed up, a bunch of coaches showed up, and that being a great event. I remember the eye-opening thing for me was a kid named Damian Robinson. Damo went to Dunbar, and my guy, Coach Villado, was an assistant coach, volunteer assistant at Dunbar. He's like, I got 4 kids at Dunbar. None of them have $70. If I give you $100, can these 4 play? I'll drive them. So I'm like, bet, cool. Give me 100, bring them in. They come. Damien gets an offer from Cal State Bakersfield Junior College. He ends up going there, ends up graduating, goes to Montana State, graduates with your degree. And if he hadn't come to that showcase that day, he might have never gone to college. Grew up on like 65th Street or out south, went to Dunbar, and if V hadn't given him that ride and paid that $100. So to me, this light went off. I'm like, all right, if I'm doing it as a for-profit event, I'm losing money anyway. I just lost $1,000.
Yep.
I might be excluding people who really need it. So let me rethink the way I'm doing it. Let's do it as a nonprofit. Let's get donations. Let's raise money. Let's do GoFundMe. Let's invite all the best kids who need it for free. And then we get the talent, we get the coaches, and no one's excluded because of money. So that was really how that came about. And it grew little by little every year. And then again, at a certain point, when I got kind of lost my way, I stopped running the event and I started doing the showcase. And it was really actually a conversation with Anthony Davis's father that got me to showcase again. I had stopped. I was doing the movie. I was kind of working in music to make money on the side.
Yeah.
And I went to Anthony's 21st birthday party in New Orleans. Yeah. And I was down there with a rapper I was managing, Spenzo. He was performing at his birthday party, and I'm feeling myself. I got this rapper. He's at the party, yada yada. And Anthony's dad, Anthony Sr., pulls me aside and he's like, "Dan, what are you doing?" And what do you mean? I'm here with Spenzo. Like, we got a hit song. Like, he's like, "Oh, like, this is not you. Like, look in the mirror. Like, this is not you.
Yeah,
you're a basketball guy. You're not a rap guy. You're a basketball guy."
Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm trying something new. He's like, no. I remember the analogy. He said, when you leave work, you think someone's going to fill in for you, but you get back and you realize there's a stack of papers on your desk and no one was doing your work for you. And right now, no one's doing your work for you, and you got to get basketball. These kids need you. He said Anthony wouldn't be here if you hadn't helped him. Yeah. And there's somebody else out there just like him that needs you.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was like hit with a ton of bricks. Like, wow, I'm basically living a lie.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was like Anthony's birthday, I think, is in like February or March. Yeah. And I scheduled the showcase. Again, I've been off for 2 years, and I scheduled the showcase for that like 3 weeks later, like the first week of April. Yeah. Brought it back to Westinghouse. I was friends with Bill Curry and Tanisha over there, Tanisha McGee. Yeah. Brought it to Westinghouse.
Shout out to Tanisha McGee. All purpose, Miss All Purpose.
Yeah, I remember we didn't have any money. I'm like raising money off of GoFundMe. She let me use the printers at Westinghouse, the double-sided printers to make the motion package. Yeah, really helped me a lot. And that first year we had probably 100 kids and 40 college coaches, and helped 30 kids go to school. And I was like, wow, like, okay, this is great. Like, I'm back in it. The feeling that gave me, I felt this emptiness the last couple of years being away from the game, feeling a purpose, and that rekindled my sense of purpose. It was like, oh my God, I use my connections and my resources and the people I know, and now 30 kids get to go to college off this little event that I threw just because I sent out some texts and some emails and posted on Facebook. If I don't do this every year, it's disrespectful to the community that accepted me and uplifted me and gave me an opportunity. It's my responsibility to do this event. So from that point on, I started doing it every year. And then at a certain point, Evan Turner heard about it. He DM'd me and he was like, "Hey, I want to sponsor it. I want to put up the money. You don't have to raise donations anymore. I got you." He put up the money. to do it. And then, I mean, the last year we did it in 2019 because we canceled it.
Yeah.
Where you coached in it.
Yeah.
We had 270 players.
Yeah.
And 130 college coaches, and we tallied 51 kids committed to college that offered them from the showcase. So now it's become an event bigger than me.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely.
When I started, it was like I knew the players, I knew the coaches. I'm picking. Now I don't even know who these kids are at the showcase, but it's become bigger than me.
Big. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and I remember, man, the I think I want to say that first year at Western House, and it wasn't a lot of advertisement, but again, as a coach, because at that time I think I had just left. I wasn't in South Suburban anymore, but still, I'm always, out and with coaches, connects. But I was there as a coach, and one thing, right? You get coaches in because you connect with people, right? So, I mean, you and I talked about this prior to coming on, but you connect with people and you kind of understand what helps and what gets them there, right? People love food, right? I would, Gatorades for my, take a charge, you get a Gatorade, right? That's why all my kids always took charges, things like that. But you have a hospitality room, man.
Yeah.
And coaches appreciate that, right? I mean, if a coach is driving 2 hours, they don't necessarily want to have to now go buy some food too, even if it's part of the budget, right? But so you bring that whole experience even to the coaches to now make them feel welcome and feel comfortable. So it's no surprise why they would be so willing to literally sign athletes at the event as they do, right? Because at a lot of these events and on these circuits, coaches not necessarily signing players at, a lot of these circuit events right then and right there, right? It does happen at you all showcase. That first year, I remember you was, moving around like a chicken with your head cut off. And then I think it moved to right? I think when Evan took it, because that's when the shoe company, what's the name of the shoe company kind of?
Name.
Yep. And that was before, like, I think Dwayne Wade even had the contract, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was huge. But another thing that you all do is you all educate them, right? So it's not just come in, get a jersey, bring a t-shirt, we're going to give you a ball, split you up into teams. Like, they have to go through a mandatory, like, educational like workshop or presentation before any basketball is thrown out. I mean, is that right? Like, I mean, so you want to talk about that, D?
Well, it's funny. Before I go into that, I'll give you an explanation on the hospitality room. It's funny, actually. That came out of necessity. Again, it's like when the event is nonprofit, you're not thinking about how to make the most. Like, if you're thinking about how to extract the most money, you're not going to spend a bunch of money on free food.
Yeah.
How to make it the best event. I remember the last year before I broke, I had it at this is like probably 2011. I had it at Brooks out south.
Yep.
And Bobby Locke was the coach.
Yep.
And I remember I didn't think about having food there, and it got to be lunchtime, and all the coaches started leaving. And I'm like, well, there's games going on. You need to see players. So I remember sending my dad to the Wendy's out there and getting like 100 like cheeseburgers just to like hand out. Like, hey, don't leave. Here's some food. Watch the players. So I remember that and being like, all right, I need to have food because I can't have coaches leaving at lunchtime.
Yep.
So now it's like something to look forward to. Also, if they're hungry, they're not going to be focused. They're going to be thinking about food. Feed them good. They're going to stay all day, and then they're going to watch more players and offer more players.
Yeah.
Food. But anyway, also, like, I always give them a speech. It's funny. I always give a speech at the beginning of the showcase. You talk about, and it occurred to me in this last showcase that none of these kids have any idea who I am. Like, the first 3 years, I personally recruited all the players on my website. Speaking, Dan's going to give us a talk. But it's funny, these kids, after I gave my speech last time, not a single kid had any idea, like, who is this guy talking to us. But I basically, my speech always kind of circles around is, hey, look, you're a senior. You finished high school. I know you all thought that you were going to be playing for Duke or Kentucky. Well, here's all the college coaches over here. Duke's not here. Kentucky's not here. Illinois is not here. UIC's not here. This is the College of Southern Idaho. This is Malcolm X. This is Creighton College. This is, but they have full scholarships to offer you.
Absolutely.
Create a better life for yourself and future generations. So if they speak to you, you show them respect. If they want you to visit your school, you are not. If you were too good to visit your school, you wouldn't be here in this showcase. You'd already be committed to Division I school. By the fact that you are not too good for any of those schools. So if they talk to you, shake their hand, look them in the eye, look down their number, ask them their name, and commit to that school if they offer you a scholarship. Because it's April and school starts in June, summer school. So you got to take that off when you get it. And I think that little wake up call, that little conversation helps, wake these kids up. And that's like you said, you see guys game is over. Hey, I'm going to offer you, hey, go visit my school tomorrow. Hey, we're offering you now. You got guys committing on the spot because, it's like matchmaking. It's like musical chairs.
Absolutely. Yep.
Guys can we get in these scholarship spots? And that's the ultimate goal.
Yeah, no, and they, they play hard, and is very, very competitive, as well. Evan Turner now, right? So, when Evan Turner came on board and, I had an opportunity to have lunch with, actually I ate lunch with your mom and Evan Turner's mom, right? Yeah. Like whole different type of education, right?
Are omnipresent at the show. It's their showcase. They run the whole thing. Yeah.
So, just sitting down, listening to both of them and just, both of their hearts for people. And, Evan's mom kind of, went into, kind of Evan's wanting to, partner and sponsor with that. Talk about how having Evan Turner, and I would be remiss, I guess the word is, if I didn't mention, wasn't Jewel Lloyd partner with you all too, right? How did now bringing some names together really take it to the next level?
Yeah, well, I think honestly,
you got my man Terry Head here. T Head just had a showcase himself. Does it up good, man. But yeah, so go ahead, D.
Yeah, well, it's funny. T Head, at my first event I had at Foreman was an 8th grade All-Star game when I was a sophomore in high school. Foreman, we had some players in there too.
Yeah,
we had Boatwright who ended up win a championship at Connecticut. We had some players in there. So T Head saw the vision from the jump. But yeah, I think Evan and Jewel becoming a part of it is really the reason that I'm an agent right now.
Okay.
So again, I wanted to be Mother Teresa of Chicago. I wanted to be, I'm going to help every kid that's not an NBA player. I'm going to give back. I'm going to help the JUCO kids. I'm going to help. But I'm sitting here posting donation links on my Facebook and trying to beg for money essentially and beg for resources, and realize how difficult it was till Evan reached out and just wrote a check and put his name on it. And now all of a sudden you got more signups, more people wanted to be a part of it, more resources. NBA Players Association matched his donation. Now Jewel's involved. You start building up, and it took it. I said, wow, these guys are like real life superheroes.
Mm-hmm.
Evan is he's an NBA. He wasn't a superstar. At the time he was playing for the Celtics on the bench, 8th man, but he was a real life superhero to these kids and had the resources to change people's lives. And for me, I said, wow, if I could partner with more professional athletes, and I realized in Chicago, there were not a lot of guys who came out of our city and made it to the league who were then reinvesting those resources into the city. For Evan, he had that desire to, but he didn't have the structure to, like, he was like, hey, I've got the money, but I don't have the time or whatever to make something like this. Maybe I'll do a camp, I'll draw out the balls I could play, but to connect kids to colleges, whatever. So I saw what could be done with a little bit of money and a little bit of the platform of one of these real life superheroes. So for me, again, Evan couldn't even come to the showcase because he always had a game in season, but just making a video, talking to the kids and how much that meant to him, a jersey with his name on it, how much that meant to him, seeing someone from where they came from, making it that far. So for me, it was part of my journey of like, all right, now if I become an agent and I partner with these professional athletes and I help them use their resources to reinvest in our city and create a positive cycle of reinvestment where we're working with those, but helping them, show them how to use their platform and their money and that attention they have to really help young people, we can really do something. Because we know we can't trust the politicians. CPS has all these issues, the mayor and the politicians, the aldermen, like you can only trust them to help so much. But these NBA players some of them have money like the government. They've got hundreds of millions of dollars and this reach to reach so many people to raise more and get donations and get sponsors. And it's like, if you harness that and leverage it the right way, you can really, really help a lot of people. And I think a lot of athletes have that desire to do that, but maybe don't have the people in their corner with the ability to help them do that. So that's why
absolutely. Yep. And you know, you and I talked about it before coming on camera, but like, I mean, all in all, I mean, it's a trust issue, right? I mean, we live in a city, in an environment that it's a trust issue, and it's a lot of self-preservation. So it's funny because I've had this conversation. You're the second person I've had this conversation with in the last month. There's so many people that have made it from Chicago, but there aren't a lot of people that may necessarily do some philanthropic things directly in Chicago. You know, some do, and you don't hear about it. But in terms of what you're saying, right, like helping the masses and not necessarily relying on the school systems or, you know, the politicians, because ultimately, you know, it's kind of like what's in it for me as opposed to, you know, some of those athletes. I mean, it is a lot of people that do, but a lot more can be done if people could just come together and have a plan for being able to help our community. You know, I mean, you look at schools like Illinois, schools like Loyola, you know, just the season that they had this year, but the knock has always been, you know, here we go, right? I mean, you know, I know you know this dude, right? But like, I mean, Hall of Famer in Kansas, though, right? Hall of Famer in Kansas, but he's from here, right? Like, so what? Until we're able to build those relationships, right? And it may have to start at the top and start with what I'm doing, with what you're doing to get people to trust, right? And, you know, I mean, Sharon, you know, does his, you know, I, you know, see him, you know, personally now working with kids. But what if, as you said, you were able to get 10, right? 10 guys or women to say, look, we're going to make it possible for resources and education for our youth to be accessible, which go back to what you were saying about you being in Evanston, right? Just having the access to it. And so how much greater can the game be, can people be, if they were able to bond together, man? So like, I didn't know about the NBA Players Association, you know, but as you said, leverage. Like, we got to stop thinking leverage as opposed to thinking using people. You know what I'm saying? It's, you know, unless, you know, depending on how you look at it, D, right? Because some people think leverage using people, but it's totally different. I think it goes back to that growth mindset, that fixed mindset, you know, with that. But talk about, and, you know, I'm going to go back to Sharon in a minute. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Go ahead. No. Go ahead and add it now. Go ahead.
I mentioned Sharon. He was on my mind, and then he just popped up, which is crazy. So what I was going to say is, like, okay, so there's players who make it and they never come back. They disappear.
Yep.
Guys who make it and come back. And making it could be the NBA, could be overseas, could be college, could be whatever. But a lot of times the guys who make it and come back are the guys who have the biggest impact. Because you can make it and have $100 million and you can donate money and this and that, but they can't see you, they can't touch you. And it's like you're just like any other, you know, donor. That's See, like you said, you see Sharon around now. You see guys like Sharon and Tim Flowers. You see guys who made it, had success outside of Chicago, came back to Chicago and spend time with the kids. They can see them, they can touch them, they can use their experience to learn. I always say, like with my showcase, if I can help a kid go to college and become a pro and live a life outside of Chicago, that's wonderful. They can live a great life. If I can help a kid go to college, graduate, come back and be a coach, come back and be a trainer, come back and be a teacher. Well, now you haven't helped one person, you helped 1,000 people.
Yep.
Is that one person going to come back and bring that knowledge back and help maybe another 1,000 kids, maybe another 100 kids go to college, they become teachers, coaches. Now you're really, the community is growing and you're having this quantum of. So again, Sharon, I was going to say, because again, now Sharon, he had his time, he played in the league. He was inaccessible for a bit. He was that untouchable pro, but now he's back in his touch and you can see him. The kids can learn from him. And that it is what the kids need. And now to build to what you were saying, the guys who are in the league who are making hundreds of millions, a lot of them, there's not cohesion because they all have their bubbles, they have their circles, right?
Yeah.
Our guys are donating, they are doing good things, they have their own foundation, but there isn't a lot of synergy, right? So you have these guys like Sharon and Tim Flowers who are in the city doing the work on the ground. And then you got the guys like Derek and Jabari and these guys who are donating money, giving their resources. Again, I'll never disparage them because those guys have donated a lot of money to the kids. But now you find a way to bring those two parties together, where you get the guys who are really making the real money and have the real power to unite and support the guys who are in the city doing the hard work. Now we're really, but that's a lot easier said than done because that's a lot of egos. That's a lot of people, conflicting interests, a lot of
trust.
It's very difficult to do, but the closer we get to that point, the more of an impact we can have.
Absolutely.
And that's where we have to work towards. But it's easier said than done.
Easier said than done, man. Let's talk about real fast as we're transitioning. Anthony Davis, man, like, you don't necessarily talk about it often. You actually posted a picture, I think last week or a couple weeks ago, old school prom picture, right? And you mentioned like, Ant's dad talking to you at his 21st birthday party and getting you to kind of get back on that saddle, right? But speak to the relationship, man, of Anthony Davis and Daniel Poneman.
Yeah. So 8th grade All-Star game, and without scouting Chicago select, and Anthony was on the bench. I remember it was Tyrone Staggers, Alphonse Matthews. Who else was on that team? Anyway, I can't remember the whole start, but Anthony was on the bench. I invited them all to my 8th grade All-Star game. Anthony was like the 35th ranked 8th grader in my rankings. But I built a relationship with him and his family. I remember I used to compare him to Evan Turner. I used to think like, because he was long and kind of like lanky and you could tell he was going to grow a little bit. So I used to call him Mini E.T. But I fell out of touch with him after that because he went to this small school, Perspective Charter. Keep in touch, whatever. And then I remember that junior year, the first weekend of the AAU season, I was in Maryville and he was playing for Mean Streets because Jeff Duncan had found him and invited him to play for Mean Streets. And I immediately was like, wow, this is the best player in the state. And I remember having conversations in the gym that day. People were like, oh, wow, he might be a top 10 player. He might be high major. I'm like, nah, that's the best player in the state. Now, I can't take credit and say, oh, I knew he was going to be a Hall of Famer. But I was like, every top player in the state's in this gym, and that's the best guy.
Right.
And I went home, made his highlight videos, sent him out to every college, and rest is history. He went from Cleveland State offer to every offer in the country. And again, I can't take credit for discovering him because of Jeff Duncan onto Perspective, scouted him out Main Street, brought him to Maryville. I just had to walk in Maryville and boom, and I had that megaphone where I could blast it to the world. I had that platform to let people know about him. So I spread the word as fast as I could. Next thing you know, he's #1 player in the country. Rest is history. So it's funny. People always tell me like, oh, you discovered Anthony, you helped put him on, but I always say he did a lot more for me than I ever did for him because he was going to make it to where he was without me. Maybe it would have been a few weeks later that he would have got put on. I didn't teach him how to play. I didn't raise him. I didn't teach him how to shoot, right? Like that was him. I just gave his skills a platform that he blew up a little bit than he might have otherwise. But then from that, I had this credibility. Well, that's the guy who found AD. That, and he, boom, boom, boom. He gave me this aura almost. Wow, he's a kingmaker of sorts. But really, I got really lucky. I was in the right place at the right time. And Anthony doing what he did gave me that credibility. So again, I'll always see him, and he'll always, like Wiz had a Disney documentary with give me credit. I always think it's funny because it's like I hadn't walked in the gym that day. So I got very lucky to be in the right place at the right time, but it really did amazing things for my career, my reputation, and my brand.
Yeah. Man, it's almost like winning championships. They say, teams that win championships got to have a little luck, but, the story of Daniel Poneman thus far has not only been, following your dream, but a lot of divine intervention too. I mean, things lining up at the right time at the right place. So as we getting ready to, this final stretch, taking action, right? Can you talk about taking action, as you said, with the student athletes that come to the showcase, you let them know if a coach offers, act interested. One thing as a college head coach, one thing that I hated talking to a kid, and we call it big timing, right? They want a big time. I don't know. Call you later. And then they wind up calling you like June 20th. You know what I'm saying? Because, Coach K didn't call, huh? Okay, well, but you treated me a certain way. But taking action, man, can you talk about how important it is for athletes, on the court and off the court, to take action? Like, once they make their mind up, take action. A lot of athletes, and the reason why a lot of athletes like deal with confidence issues is because of their indecisiveness, So, I mean, can you talk about just the importance of athletes being able to kind of make their mind up and then act on it?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think we live in a time, like you said, of the transfer portal and of fixed mindsets, and everyone wants instant results. And I think the adults in the basketball community aren't helping that. People see opportunity. Oh, you're unhappy there? Come over here. Oh, come to my high school. Come transfer this and the other. And I think we need to work together in what's in the best interest of the kids and help kids hold them accountable. A lot of 5-star kids don't end up succeeding because adults don't hold them accountable. Adults see dollar signs, and adults, enable them instead of empower them, enable them instead of hold them accountable. And I think we as a community, a basketball community, really need to just take action to help hold kids accountable, help them make better decisions, help them see things through and stick it out, instead of just taking the easy way out, and supporting each other. Stop poaching kids from other high schools if that kid could succeed at that high school. Stop sending kids across the country to a different school when they could go to UIC, DePaul, or Loyola, or Malcolm X, our city colleges. It's Triton and South Suburban, support our local schools and really champion people, even if you don't have a self-interest in it. Again, I think that's what it's going to take. Again, I love seeing so many former players come back to the city, reinvest their time, energy in the young people. Now I want to see people work together because these kids, you can't expect 13, 14, 15-year-old kids to have it figured out, but they're looking at us as leaders, and we have to not look at it in self-interest, but look at it as, how can we help lead?
How can we help? How can we help? Absolutely. Yeah. Cause that's the ultimate goal, man. And, help them seeing things through. How, you talk to coaches, like, me all the time. What's the best advice, right? Even, kids that have registered or is getting ready to register, for the showcase is on May 1st, right, D?
May 1st.
Right? May 1st. What's the website? I'm gonna see if somebody can drop it in while we talking. What's the website?
I believe it's undiscoveredshowcase.com.
Okay, undiscoveredshowcase.com. Can somebody put that in the chat for me? Can y'all drop it in the chat? Somebody, undiscoveredshowcase.com. May 1st, right? May 1st. What's the best piece of advice, D, that you can give to athletes?
Yeah,
based on what that coaches really want to see, because I pound the table on this, but I think hearing it from multiple people and other people, because I know what I'm looking at, and I know what turns me off. I know what'll make me line somebody out. But what's the best piece of advice that can help a kid, and then what's the best piece of advice that you can give a kid that will ultimately not get them a scholarship offer?
I got it. This is for athletes, parents, coaches.
Yeah.
Best advice is you have to put the time in to advocate and use the power of the internet. I see this all the time with so I'll give you an example of pros. Again, I'm an agent, so I'm trying to represent NBA players, but I will have a guy who averaged 8 points per game at UIC reach out and be like, "Hey, Dan, I want you to be my agent." All right, well, there's no money in being your agent, so I'm not going to take my time. I have a business to run. But if you average 8 points per game at UIC, no one's going to be your agent. You need to be your own agent. The internet is powerful. So I'll tell guys, look up the names of teams in overseas leagues email the GM, take an hour a day, write in Facebook groups for overseas basketball openings, go on LinkedIn and find the coaches. You have to advocate for yourself, because if you sit back and expect someone else to do for you, never gonna happen. Same with high school kids. People reach out, hey Dan, I want a scholarship. I need help. Well, I got a business to run, and I do the showcase. So if you play in the showcase, I don't have the time to take a senior at Westinghouse and email 30 coaches. Well, is your future, or your son's future, your daughter's future, or your player's future. You got to take time. The internet is powerful. Every single college in America has a website with their basketball coach and the email address on the website. So if you're not taking the time,
everyone,
City Colleges of Chicago, if you don't have a scholarship and you're not emailing City Colleges of Chicago, find the email, send your highlight, do a personalized, hey, this is who I am, coach, I'd like to play for you. Don't do a copy paste. So, hey, coach, I watched your games. This is what I think of how you played. I'd love to play for you. And coach was like, wow, they took the time to watch my game. I'm going to offer this player. I'm going to bring them in for a workout. Take the time to put yourself, be your own agent, be your own advocate. And that's going to take places in life. And the same thing for coaches. I have 40 players at my agency and another few hundred in the showcase that I'm trying to help. Well, if you're coach, you have 12 guys on your team, 15 guys on your team. Take the time to email coaches, call coaches. Every college coach you meet, write down their name, write down their phone number, write down their email, keep a spreadsheet, save it in your phone, find a way to organize it, because you're going to need those contacts down the road. When I have in my phone, every college coach I save is college coach with the level. So if I want to search my phone for every NAIA coach on my phone, I can just type NAIA coach. Boom, I got it on my phone.
Yep.
Coaches do that, because then if you got a kid who's NAIA level, you can text and call every single coach you met instead of wondering, how am I going to get this kid to school? You got to take the time. The internet is so powerful. Every bit of information is out there. And a lot of times the people who take the time to market themselves are the ones who make it. And the guys who don't are the ones who wonder, who have the fixed mindset and are blaming others for the fact that they didn't take the time to go out and get it themselves.
Yeah, no, man, that's super dope. Super dope. Jack, I appreciate it, man. Jack, man, one of my elder statesmen, almost like a big brother, man. Jack Lear, great coach.
Jack's been sending kids to the showcase since the very first year.
Yeah, man. Jack, man. But no, that one, make it personal. Okay, so let's eat what DP just said, right? You have to make it personal, meaning, do you know who we played yesterday? Do you know what type of offense we run? Put in the email something that took place, right, during a game that you saw. Go to YouTube, right? Go look on the website. Sometimes they stream the games, even if like the season is over now. Still do something to show the coach that you're interested in them, right? And so to Dan's point, don't just copy and paste a generic. And nowadays, especially with COVID, right, so many parents and athletes think, well, just email the coaches. Well, you got to get them to open the email first, D. You know what I'm saying? Then when they open the email, and I just asked like 5 coaches about this. When you open the email, what's going to make me then, as you said, want to follow up with you? Because as coaches, they probably getting hundreds a day, especially now during this climate. But there are some other things, right? Again, when I talk about being the right recruit, like, well, do you have test scores? Even if you're hearing, well, you don't need them to be eligible. But again, what's going to make you, and this is why I asked the question earlier, D, marketable, right? So you don't have time, and there's no knock against, UIC, because I mean, hell, I am a product of UIC, right? And I got a UIC chair sitting right next to me. But to your point, it's levels to it. And why waste your time doing something that somebody can do for themselves? Right? So for the parents and the athletes, what can you do by yourself? Does your student athlete have an NCAA ID number? Right? Are they registered with the clearinghouse? Have they filled out the financial aid form? Have they got a graduation audit? Right? Like all of these things that is needed for me to even be able to offer you. I mean, like I can offer you, but to sign it and you don't have like you ain't registered with the clearinghouse, it's my hands are tied. D, you know what I'm saying? So if you're not that 5-star recruit, do I now wait on you? Right? Do I now wait on you to get all your stuff in order and you're a senior in this April? But I went to the showcase, to the undiscovered showcase, and the coach contacted me, but all my stuff not in order. Right. So to your point, which is great advice, you have to now make it personable. You have to get them to open the email, and then there has to be some information in there that they want to consume. And then also, D, like every head coach not gonna answer their email. So you may not be able to email every head coach. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I'm pretty sure with you, every email that comes to, beyond agency, like you may not get that email because it's a team. Go ahead.
Yeah. And again, to your earlier point, the ones that I get emails all the time. You can tell, like, copied and pasted.
Yeah.
The ones that I do respond to is if it's something personal. Hey, I followed your journey. I used to read your website. Or, hey, I watched this video you posted. This was really cool what you said. Or, hey, man, I looked at your company's website. Wow, you guys are doing something special. I'm going to feel like, wow, this guy took the time. They're really reaching out to me. I owe them a response. Now, 9 times out of 10, I'm not going to say, 99 times out of 100, I'm not going to represent that player. But I might say, hey, man, I can't represent you, but here's some resources of how you can go help yourself. Here's the advice that I'll give you if you want, yada, yada. Same with interns. I get so many emails of people, I want an internship. Oh, I'm a sports marketing major at University of Indiana. I'd love an internship with your agency. And so I didn't even take the time to type in Beyond Athlete Management. All right, in the trap. Hey, I've been following your journey and I love your website. I love what you did with this athlete and this marketing campaign you did. Boom, boom, boom. What I do, I don't offer them an internship. I don't need more interns, but I say, hey, I'll give you 20 minutes. Here's my number. Let's have a conversation this Wednesday. You can ask me any questions you want about the sports industry, and I'll give you advice. And it's like, if you take that time to give the personal touch, people notice that, and it's going to take you farther in life if you don't take the easy, lazy way, but you really take the time to help yourself and put yourself in a position.
Get it done. Yeah. And as Sean, just commented on, another, one of my bros that, grew up together. His dad actually was a coach. Me and his brothers played together, but he, and he's, a tremendous hip hop artist. Right. But athletes are a brand, even high school athletes. Can you talk about that, D? Like, and I really, like, it's really unwritten secret, really. If more athletes conducted themselves as the brand, I think they may have more success, right? And then maybe they won't blame people either, right? To your point. But if it's on social media, if it's, how they carry themselves in the streets and, at school, they're the brand. Like, can you talk about that? Because I'm pretty sure, like, even with your NBA clients, you have to get them to understand that. But even at the lower levels, it's really the same thing.
Yeah, no, everyone's a brand today. I'm a brand, you're a brand. Every single person, your social presence is a brand. You reflect on social media, not who you are, but what you want people to see about you. Good brand. Everyone's got a brand. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it reflecting what's going to get the most conducive result? Who are you marketing to? If you're a high school boy, are you marketing your social media for the high school girls? Are you marketing it for the college coaches? Are you marketing it for your bros so they think you're cool? Are you marketing it for future opportunities? And I think everybody's social media presence, their brand is what they want you to think of them, and people have to think about, what do I want out of life, and how do I present something that is going to, reflect on the things that I want to get out of life. Every college coach is going to check your social media before they offer. Is it going to help them on an offer? Is it going to turn them away?
Yep. And I tell the story all the time when Jim Weitzel, right? Jim Weitzel called me, and he was at St. John's at that point, and he, former coach at Loyola, he called me. And he like, hey, Carville, I know that you're over at Orr, I'm interested in Pookie, right? Marlon. And, he like, so, I want to come talk to you. I know, we've talked, you're a former college coach, it was Friday, D, and he was like, I'll be in Chicago Monday. And I was like, okay, cool, coach. You know what I mean? Come, when I got to work Monday at 8:30 at OR, Coach Weitzel was at the front desk, right, waiting on me. So they were serious, right? But not only was I a former college coach that he knew, right, I was the resource to make that connection to not only the player, but also the coach. But I was also the dean, right? He wanted to see disciplinary records first.
Wow.
Then he wanted to see the counselor before anything. Let me meet the coach. Let me meet the player. Let me see his discipline records, Vail, right? I'm like he ain't got none. You know what I'm saying? Like he ain't even got a folder in here. He like, okay, cool. Take me over to the counselor. So, to your point, again, with all of that, it ain't just about how many buckets you can put, how many times you can put the ball in the basket. It's about the whole gamut of everything. Again, being the right recruit, and that's what we do so well with our athletes, but let's talk, man, beyond athletes management as we get ready to close. Now you went from helping high school kids get to college kids, sustain, and now pro guys and young ladies, literally change their life with a little orange ball, right? Talk to us about BAM, man.
Yeah, I mean, look, we're a sports agency. We're Chicago based. We've got 3 agents based in our Chicago office. We've got offices in LA, Chicago, Houston, DC, Pittsburgh. We've got football, NFL, NBA, and it's really like I see it as kind of like an open source agency. Like we are the agency of Chicago. Everyone in the Chicago basketball community has a part in our agency. It's not that I'm the owner and Jelani Floyd, who's my co-founder who went to Whitney Young, or Mike Nadich, who's my co-founder who coached at Lincoln Park and Whitney Young. We're the founders of the company, but I really feel like it's for the city. We wanted to present an alternative to what we saw as exploitative, practices in the industry. People who are taking advantage of kids, sucking them out of money and resources, guiding them on the wrong way, leeches that are taking the money and then chewing up and spitting them back out to the city. I saw that happen with my friends growing up. I saw that happen. I had guys who I saw them get agents, and the agents were there when times were good and weren't there when times were bad. So we really wanted to create an agency for the people of Chicago, where we're not only helping guys make the most money, but lead productive lives and be about the right things. And not everybody's for us. Like you said, we don't offer everybody. It's a fit. If you're, you get back what you put out. You put out positivity. You put out a certain type of energy. You're going to get guys that fit that, and those that represent. So, again, it's funny. Again, I had lunch with Jabari the other day, and he was joking with me like, after he retires from playing, he's going to be my intern. And, he's like, I'm going to go run errands for you. And it's funny, but it's true in the sense that, like, yeah, I want anybody from the city who feels like they want something to be a part of as a part of BAM, because really our goal is not just to make the most money, but to use this platform to impact the city and
the most impact. Hell yeah. Yeah.
In 3 years, we've now got 6 guys in the NBA, 5 guys in the NFL, and we're just growing guys overseas in the G League. And I think it's because we're doing things the right way. We're trying to help people. We're really trying to empower athletes to own their talent, to make the most of their careers, empower the people around them, and do great things for basketball.
Why BAM? Why should I want to sign with BAM?
Like I said, it's a fit thing.
Yep.
It's some people want like apples, some people like oranges, some people like bananas, some people like kiwis, right? BAM is for a certain type of person that wants a certain type of presentation. We have extremely creative people in the marketing department, the logos, the branding, social media. We're a very innovative agency built in the modern era, where we are great at building brands, social media marketing. We're really help guys. I'm wearing a shirt right now. This is the brand that one of our clients we helped him build.
Okay.
But also representation, guys who are really going to care and be in your corner, guys who are going to answer your calls every day and return your calls when you get them, guys who are going to care about you and your family and your life, not just in the basketball, but how's your mental health, how's how's your family, how are you on this journey? It's not just about making the most money. It's not a transactional relationship.
Absolutely.
You own your talent, be the CEO of your business, and we're the right agency for you, but we're not right for everybody. Some guys would rather have the agency that it's like, hey, here's the bag, go play in the league, do your thing, and that's all you got to worry about. And that's for some people, but that's not man. And we're looking for a certain type of guy, and we've found those guys so far.
Yeah, no, it's you know, a lot similar to what we do, because we don't bring on everybody as a client, you know, because again, you know, it has to be the right fit, but you know, and also to your point, you want those individuals that you know that you can help, and those individuals are generally the ones that are hungry and looking, right? You know, rather than, I mean, because at this stage of, you know, the game, you don't really have a lot of time or energy to expend to kind of get people to think why they should be doing it. You know, I mean, if these are pros, you know, you either know that you can do it or you know that you need help, right? And being with the right agency or the right company that can give you what you need, because that's really what it's all about, D, right? I mean, and, you know, having that personal relationship with each and every client, because each and every client is different. Each and every student athlete that's looking to get a scholarship is different. Their situation is different. And so you have to be able to do a good job of assessing who you're even dealing with before you even bring them on. So do you find a lot like growth mindset, fixed mindset, confidence, non-confidence? Do you find a lot of similarities, or what's one main similarity that you see from people looking to play in college as opposed to people that are in the pros or looking to play in the pros? Like what's one like similar trait that they all kind of secretly are trying to overcome?
I think like we talk about growth mindset, perseverance, guys who can overcome obstacles and not let them defeat them. I would say it's the number one thing. You can't let the obstacles defeat you, because in this game, in basketball, it's not like other careers where you can fail and get another shot. You look at guys like Jeremy Richmond, who's my brother, love him to death, but he got a shot and he messed up and he never got another one. A lot of times in this game, you don't get two shots, you get one, and it's brutal and it's vicious and it's unforgiving in that way. There's very few industries. Again, I failed when I was 18, 19 years old, but I didn't have a time limit. It's not like basketball where, I had to succeed at this young age. I got to try at 23, 24, 25, but basketball doesn't give you the opportunity. So you have to be able to overcome obstacles quickly, bounce back, and fight through them.
Everybody gets a shot,
but not a lot of people get to.
Not a lot of people get to. And sometimes that one shot that athlete may get, pun intended, may be in the dark. And they got to know how to hit that shot in the dark. D, man, I'm going to share my screen one time with you, man. I want to take you through a couple things, man. I just want you to tell me what comes to mind. Okay, so I just want you to tell me what comes to mind when you look at these pictures. All right, let's go here.
This one?
Yeah, what's the first thing that come to mind?
That's just me in my element. That's just me being me. I'm at a gym watching a pro-am game in Cincinnati, talking on my phone and looking for talent. That's just what I do.
What's the feeling you get right here?
Comfort. It's like, all right, this is where I feel comfortable. Yeah. This is where I feel in my element. This is where I feel in the zone. Like I walked in that gym in Cincinnati, never been in that pro-am before. I knew one person who organized it. I ended up seeing two guys that I knew. One of them played for the Fire and ended up moving this, that, and other. And I discovered a couple other players I didn't know about. Ended up knowing everybody in the gym before I left. And that's just me and my element.
Hey. And we now know, though, right, D? We now know what your superpower is, man. We now know. We now know. Tell me about this one. Look at the hair on that guy right there, man.
Yeah, that was. I look at that. I see myself. I was lost in the sauce.
Oh, okay.
That was me. I had the popping website. I just found the #1 player in the country. He's
Yep.
popping, thinking I'm the man, and I lost at that moment what had got me there.
Wow.
And that moment again, I got the facial hair. My hair was flowing.
Yeah.
I'm, and I should have been at home editing videos, focused on finding the next player instead of riding that wave. That
Wow.
I see myself there being lost in the sauce, lost in the hype.
Wow. Yeah, that's deep.
Family,
Yeah.
friendship. So that's me, my girlfriend Amelia, my
Yeah.
mother, Taekwondo, who obviously star shot in the dark, who one of my closest friends and family members now, and then Kewan Wells, who's one of my childhood friends from middle school, high school, who used to live with us, our family in high school. So that is my mother. That credit to my mother, because it's like I get so busy, I'm working, I'm traveling, I'm signing players and this and that. Like I talk to Taekwondo maybe like every 2 weeks, every month. My mom talks to Taekwondo almost every day.
Wow.
Like that's like she talks to Taekwondo more than she talks to me. Same with Kewan. That was my best friend from high school. He went through, some stuff with his family where he was living with us for a while. And again, like he moved on with his career. I moved on with mine. And like, that's my friend. I'll talk to him every few months. My mom checks in with him every day. And that's credit to my mother being an incredible person. People in my life who she gets to know become her family members too. And she's an amazing connector and an amazing soul. And you see the smile on Taekwondo's face too. And Kewan, it's just like, and me too. It's like we were all kids just trying to figure it out. And, we all took our lumps, and you can see Taekwondo's lumps in Shot in the Dark. Me and Kewan's, it was behind the scenes, but we all took our lumps. We all made it to adulthood, and we kept our brotherhood.
And it makes so much sense now, man. That's why I like to spend a lot of time on the foundation. But you said that he used to live with y'all, but when you talk about that bubble, right? I mean, if you're in Wilmette, you don't have this lifelong friendship, I mean, that's how I see it. When you saw this, man, right? All the hard work, and then when you saw executive producers, Dwayne Wade, Chance the Rapper, you see it. Does this still give you chills that like you were able to complete this?
It's funny, the poster and the Dwayne Wade and Chance the Rapper part, it doesn't do that much for me, because I thought it was funny. Like when I saw that poster, I'm like, dang, we spent 5 years on this, and now everyone's going to think.
They put their name on it, yeah.
Which was amazing, because without them, we couldn't have got that platform for the whole world to see it. Like they brought it to that level. But I remember thinking the irony of like we were in Ort every day, and they're going to think Chance and D Wade were in there with the camera.
Yeah.
Really, like the thing that gives me chills about the film is reading the reviews. Like again, you see New York Times deeply felt street poetry. Rick Tellender wrote a review in the Sun Times, said it was the best basketball movie since Hoop Dreams. And like that is like the gratification, like, wow, we worked so hard on this piece of art that and then people respected it and admired it and felt like it wasn't just a commercial success, but it was an artistic success, and it had integrity. And that's really what does it for me, reading those reviews.
Okay. I got a couple more, so we're gonna go through this, right? Tell me about this one.
So that was at our premiere in LA, and Dwayne Wade was there, and I remember Taekwondo Marquise being there, and they still keep in touch with D Wade. But yeah, it was just a joyous time. Like we all worked so hard on this thing for years and years and years, and getting the world to see it. And I remember actually being kind of salty that day, because they had a panel on stage, and like Dwayne Wade was there, and Chris Broussard was hosting the panel, but they only had like 5 seats on stage. So like I didn't get a seat. I didn't get to be on the panel. And I remember just being hot. I'm like, man, I worked so hard, but like they wanted the celebrity on the stage.
Wow.
Film, but I was cool with it. I'm like, you know what, whatever is, it was very cool for Taekwondo Marquise for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Tell me about this one.
Me and my pops, my lookalike, FaceTiming him, getting life advice from him, appreciating that I had him in my life and the knowledge he's passed down to me, and realizing that I wouldn't be here without him and his guidance and his wisdom.
Even on the road, right? Even on the road, because it looked like that you somewhere on the road doing what you do, but just having that time to tap back in.
gotta tap back in. He always has good wisdom, good gems, and he always keeps me honest. He can always see through the bullshit.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Tell me about this one, man.
That was the article that changed my life. I was 16 years
Boy
old.
wonder.
I was in high school. That article dropped, and none was ever the same. I'll still meet people that I'll be recruiting, for my agency. They'll be like, "Oh, I read about you in Sports Illustrated back in 2007." Like that Christmas time. Yeah, 2007. I think it was 2008. And that article changed my life. To some people, I will always be that 16-year-old kid. I'll never be an adult. They still see me as the boy wonder, the 16-year-old kid, which I'm okay with. It's almost like like Macaulay Culkin will always be the kid from Home Alone. Always gonna be the kid from Sports Illustrated.
Yeah,
that's me talking to the kids at the showcase.
You in your element. Yeah,
element. Love it. Love nothing more.
Now, are young ladies invited to this one as well?
This year we're not doing it.
Okay.
We do some years, but this year we're not. With COVID, we don't have the capacity to bring
Okay. Tell me about this one, man. I can't let you go without telling me about this one.
Yeah, so I had the LeBron ones on. Right now, after I go to Foot Locker, I got the LeBron ones. That was the Fam League. Played at Fleetwood Jourdain in Evanston. They had a draft. It was a 6th through 8th grade league. They had a draft. I went in the 8th round, and I, barely got playing time, but put on my LeBrons, went to practice every day, and actually it's crazy. One of my teammates from that team, from the Suns, Greg Tucker, ended up playing at Lincoln Park. Played in my very first showcase. Got a scholarship to JUCO for my first showcase. Ended up graduating from Division I school, and he was tragically shot and killed a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
And the day that his funeral, I spoke at Greg's funeral, was actually the day I decided to become an agent.
Wow.
Yeah. So Greg was the only person, was my teammate, played in my showcase, went to college, was my good friend. I still, I visit his gravesite, talk to his dad all the time. But yeah, that was an important turning point.
Last but not least, man. Yeah, last but not least, the Godfather.
Yeah, McGlover, Mac Irvin. I see that, and I see a kid who was. So I'll tell you a crazy story. First time I met Mac, I was a sophomore in high school, and my website was running. It was doing well, and Ike Colvin called me, Chris Colvin's dad.
Yeah.
He's like, "Hey, Godfather wants to meet you." I'm like, "What do you mean? Mac wants to meet you." Mac Irvin picked me up from school, drove me out to like 85th Street, out by like CVS. Go to Mac's house, and I couldn't believe he knew who I was. And I remember, it was him and Nick and Mike, and talked basketball for a while, and it was just kind of my initiation, like my anointing. Like, all right, you're welcome in this community. Like Max got you. And obviously, Mac tragically, passed, though at an old age. But I feel like there's been a void since he's been gone. There was almost like you had that leadership, you have that individual that is undisputed. He's the one. He's the king. He's the number one guy. Everyone, if he says it, it goes. And you have some amazing figures still, people like Sonny Parker, who still have that presence. But I think Mac is sorely missed because he was just old school. It wasn't about him. It was about the kids. It wasn't about his ego. It was about the community. And we need more Macs in this world. So he's R.I.P.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. We're gonna in that, man. Yeah, on Mac. I just wanted to just kind of, I wanted to feel the, emotion as you kind of look back and reflected. So, man, one, D, I definitely appreciate, all of your time, spending time with us, chopping it up, just having to, letting the world in on our conversation. Quiet as kept, we probably have more in-depth conversations through text, than me and you do, via the phone. But so I definitely appreciate you taking the time, man, and coming out and, blessing us with, your story, this education. But I can't let you go without putting you in a hot seat. And this one's going to be fun. This one's going to be fun, man. So I'm going to start with this first question, D. And again, right, undiscovered, right, showcase.com, right? Go, y'all, definitely check it out. Hopefully, at some point, we can work some things out. And, I've still been putting both of these in the hands of student athletes and coaches all over the country. One, because this is what we've been talking about all day, D, right? Just understanding life, through the game of basketball, the perseverance, the failing forward, the accountability, right? All those things that you have to understand on the court. But if you understand them on the court, it's going to be a byproduct in life afterwards. And then this one, creating the perfect storm, is really just about that mindset, right? That confidence, that mindset, being able to endure. And, a lot of athletes, it's not just about playing, but developing their mind and doing what I like to call basketball improvement activities every day, right? As you said, from a business standpoint, you should have been writing a blog. You was, what I'm saying, smelling the smoke, and so, you have to do the activities that's going to move your brand the furthest. Those are the activities that athletes want to be doing, right? Push-ups, sit-ups, watching basketball. If they can't go out and play, and it's not always playing, but just development, right? What are they doing to move themselves closer each and every day to get to their goal? But the first question I want to ask you, man, I'm gonna come right out the gate with. I'm actually about 3 or 4. Best high school player you've ever seen play with your own eyes?
Jeremy Richmond.
Hands down.
Hands down.
And you answered that quick.
Yeah.
Hands down. Tell me why.
I mean, look, Derek was like an amazing prospect. You could tell Derek had the ability and the potential to be this amazing player. And I saw guys like Kyrie and Harrison Barnes. Like, oh yeah, that's a pro.
Okay.
But Jeremy was the most dominant high school player I'd ever seen. He would come in every game and take your heart out. It wasn't about potential. It was about sheer dominance. He'd get 30 points, 13 rebounds, 7 assists, and 5 blocks in a given night. He'll just demoralize you. Jeremy was the most dominant high school player, and he dominated you physically and emotionally, mentally.
Yeah, he told you about it. Yeah.
Man, he was special. Oh my God, he was amazing.
Damn. I didn't expect that name. I mean, Jay Rich, yeah, like got a bag full of it, tricks. But hands down, Jeremy Richmond. Wow, you've seen a lot.
At the time, he was the first ever 2-time Sun Times Player of the Year. And Jabari has done it since, but he was the only. Derek didn't do it. Sharon didn't do it.
Yeah.
KG didn't do it. Jeremy Richmond only 2 times Sun Times. And he brought a team of Waukegan kids downstate twice in a row, community kids. So he's going down there against Simeon Whitney Young. They're recruiting from the whole city.
Yeah.
The kids from Waukegan.
Yep.
Going downstate twice.
Yep. Yep. Wow. Okay. In your 15 years, best X and O coach you've seen. What up, Snake?
Best X and O? At the high school level or just in general?
In general.
It's a really tough one. The name that keeps popping in my head is Coach Rob Smith. But he also, it's hard to say because he also has the best talent every year. But Rob knows how to get the most out of his talent. Rob coaches different types of teams and different types of star players, and he always knows how to get the most out of them. And they play under control and they play together, and it's pretty impressive. But he also gets blessed with the best talent every year, so it's tough to say. Let me think someone who overachieves every year. I don't know. That's a tough one. I don't know.
Okay. All right. So I ain't gonna let you off the hook that easy. Best basketball moment for Daniel Poneman.
And when Taekwondo hit the game-winning shot in the Super Sectionals against North Chicago.
After being shot.
9 days earlier, there's nothing like that feeling. It was crazy. It was euphoric. It was just like, man, you didn't know if he's ever going to play again after getting shot. And here he is 9 days later hitting a shot to go down state. None like that. I don't think I've ever experienced something like that in my life.
And y'all was actually filming, right? Y'all was actually filming because
I looked down. We had 2 camera guys there. And at first I was excited, and I was like, "Oh my God, I hope we got that on film." Like, boom, got it. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because it was the Willis Reed moment. Like nobody, and you all captured it, in the movie. Like nobody expected him. I remember Lou like, "Nah, man, like Bailey, he not playing. He not." And he walked out like, it was like last 2 minutes of the game, wasn't it, D? Something like that. Last 30 seconds. Yep. Wow. Best basketball moment. All right. Let me put a little fire under you. If you had the opportunity to pick one, are you taking Jacob Pullen or are you taking Sharon Collins?
So here's the truth. I didn't see Sharon that much. I started my website in 2005, 2006, his senior year, but I wasn't really traveling around yet. I didn't start moving around the city until 2006, 2007, when Sharon had already gone to Kansas. So I didn't see Sharon live as a high school player. It wasn't until the next year I really started, so I can't really judge. But Jacob Pullen.
You're trying to slide out that question, huh?
I can't judge who I didn't see. So you always say like, "Oh, LeBron versus Jordan." All Jordan I know played for the Wizards. I was 7 years old when he retired from the Bulls, so I can't make that judgment. So yeah, I mean Jacob Pullen was incredible. I remember going 3 times that his senior year, the Proviso East St. Joe's game, where it was him, Nate Fuqua, Tim Townsend, that whole Tramel Owens, that whole team versus Evan Turner and them, and Demetri McCamey. So Jacob was incredible, but yeah, I didn't see Sharon enough in high school, so I'm dodging the question for sure.
Okay. All right, man. Well, you greatest CPS high school team. Last question. If you can give me a year, team in a year, the last 15 years, the greatest high school team you've seen.
I mean, you got to give it to Derek and Tim and Kevin Johnson and that Simeon team that won back-to-back when there was only 2 classes. I mean, Jabari and that Simeon team with Kendrick Nunn and them was great too, but they won 4 in a row, but there was 4 classes. So Derek and them won back-to-back with only 2, 1A and 2A. So I got to give it to them. But also I was younger then, so I looked up to them. So like to me, that was like a really special team to watch. But there were so many incredible teams I saw.
So we saying so are we saying what was that, the 05, 06 Simeon team? Oh, was that the 06, 7? Yeah. Okay.
But that's a lot of amazing CPS teams through the years. Like I remember, Farragut had a run with Mike Dunnigan and Marvin Thigpen and Isaiah Williams and those guys. Marshall had a run where they had Ryan Hare, Mike Stovall. Who else was on that team? Darius Smith.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Pat. Yeah, all of them. They all know that you love them, D. They all know that you love them. I'm just trying to light a little fire under you to make you and you nice and smooth. But you would say in your time doing this, the 06, 07, you would probably have to stamp them one.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. Hey man, this has been great. Closing comments. How can we make this game better?
I think we've said it all, done it all. I appreciate you having me on. This is awesome. I love that. I've done a lot of interviews in my day, but this is the first time I felt like I was speaking directly to my community that accepted me and raised me and put me on. So I appreciate this opportunity. Hopefully we can do it again. This is great.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, man, it's great, sweet. And, hopefully, you and I, can work on some things, in the background, bring them to, the forefront, because literally, and I'm about to like really, really go public with it in a minute. But, I got the blueprint, I finally got the blueprint, the playbook to, get any athlete to really understand themselves and get some self-discovery and be able to use that to be able to help them just move further, faster, without having to work as hard, but not being complacent or stressed out. So yeah, man, we got some things, man. We're going to, continue to connect. everybody that came and, tapped in with us today. I definitely appreciate it. D, how can they follow you, my brother?
It's at Daniel Poneman on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, everything at Daniel Poneman.
Yeah. So y'all go follow DP, right? Y'all go follow DP on all social media platforms. If you want, more information like this, definitely you go check out my, free case study training, about 15, 20 minutes, and the education that you got tonight, I'm going to give it to you in about 15, 20 minutes to really tell you the things that a lot of these coaches aren't going to necessarily say in the whole recruitment process, but so that you can understand, because even like what Beyond does, what Bless the Ball does, it's really like an educational platform, really like an educational foundation. Everything starts with education. D, I'm pretty sure you aren't able to be as successful with your clients or with, the students that you help if you aren't first able to educate them. Absolutely. Right. And once you educate them, it's a little bit easier to work with and to help them reach their goals. And so that's what we pride ourselves on, being able to educate, and then being able to put people in position to be able to help. But yeah, man, we're going to roll this thing out, D, to these college coaches first. And then we coming with, the high school coaches, we already got, some good, pro guys, but, we really got something that's going to really change the face in the game of this thing that we call basketball. And I'm totally excited. I will drop the links so where y'all can get the book bundle, the way you can get actually both books, as well as the first 2 seasons of this particular show. Lots and lots of great commentary, probably 200 hours of good, interviews. But that's about it, y'all. And in closing, right, I always say, keep striving for the top, because it is crowded as hell at the bottom. So with that being said, for Daniel Poneman, I am Coach Carvel Bailey, and I'm going to leave y'all with our new theme song. D, I appreciate you, my brother.
Thank
all right.
You,
yep.
Yo, just so you understand it, this is Coach Carvel Bailey's program with the spirit of Bob Hambry. This is Bless the Ball, helping athletes, and we represent. Study your craft, your mentality leads to excellence. It's all about your mindset. We'll never stop addressing this, so be positive and not a pessimist. Confidence took James Harden higher. If you really want it, it ain't gonna be easy. It's gonna be hard as carbon fiber, but we got you. From counseling to workshops, we do it. You'll go farther with a scholarship. We'll help you get recruited. Yo, anyone can dribble and shoot, but it's the ones who study basketball internally that make it to Duke University. Knowledge goes around. The game is played from the neck up and not from the shoulders down. This is Bless the Ball, helping you with obstacles. The athletes are the rocket. Bless the Ball is the rocket fuel. If you hit a wall, we can help you slowly climb it. So keep a Mamba mentality like Kobe Bryant. Bless the Ball. Cherish the opportunities that you have. Bless the Ball. Use your mentality to master the craft. Bless the Ball. Come join our team, it's a new day. Follow our steps and watch how much better you play. Bless the Ball. Cherish the opportunities that you have. Bless the Ball. Use your mentality to master the craft. Bless the Ball. Come join our team, it's a new day. Follow our steps and watch how much better you play. Yo, Coach Carvel Bailey. Hey, listen to your coach, man. He ain't no scrub off the street. That man got credentials, academic and street. Believe it, and my name is Strategic.
Peace, y'all.